Kenneth Walker is a Kansas City Chief. Malik Willis, a Miami Dolphin. Alec Pierce stays with the Colts. There's so much to go over. Your boy's been getting it already. We want to make sure we go live on as much of this as possible, so I've been kind of floating on top of this news, allowing it to accumulate so we can come in here and do some standing ovations. Kenneth Walker to the moon.
Let him cook.
Families are going to be fed off some of the news you're about to hear, so buckle up, Buttercups. The Fantasy Football Show Breaking News Edition. Kenny Walker to the Chiefs Edition. Achane gets a quarterback. That's good news edition. Alec Pierce surprisingly staying with the Colts edition begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kenny Walker lands with the Kansas City Chiefs. We knew that this was probably coming. We said last night that it felt like he was going to be in a Chief or ETN would be in a Chief uniform. One of the two. We knew this was happening. I'll tell you, there's other news coming today. Most likely we're going to see, I believe, an A.J. Brown trade today. And part of that going to be because the team most likely to be the suitor and recipient of an AJB trade, they were expecting maybe Alec Pierce to also be on the board. Alec Pierce is remaining a Colt. We'll go over that in just 1 second. K9 is on the map. And we talked about this the other day. Somebody had a K9 trade. And Achane was involved. I forget what the exact trade was, but we talked about how if Walker ended up a Chief and not back with Seattle, which was a possibility. Look at Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce was not set to go back to Indy. It happens. It happens a lot with players when they go and flirt and with another situation. They get wined and dined and they come back home and they say, I want to stay where I'm at. So there was a chance that this wasn't going to land this way. But we told that person, I forget what the trade was, I forget who was, that if Walker ended up in KC, it becomes this like even argument where we're talking about Kenny Walker and said player versus Achane and said player. And in the difference between Walker and Achane changes dramatically if he's in Kansas City. Kansas City is giving the man a 3-year, $43.05 million deal that could be worth up to $45 million per sources. He gets $28.7 million guaranteed in this deal. This $45 roughly million deal for 3 years, which puts him at an annual salary of $555, $15 million a year. $15 million a year for the boy named Kenneth Walker. He's getting his meatloaf. I smell meatloaf. Hey, Ma, the meatloaf. Exciting news, eh? We got ourselves a top 8, 6 to 10 running back. I don't know where yet, but this changes dramatically. This is why we said to the guy last night that if Walker goes to KC, it's a different conversation. Now, I still think, you have Achane, you have Walker, you're probably leaning Achane, as you should, but there's an argument to be made that Walker and Achane are on the same level now. I'm not saying that I drafted that way. I'm not saying I expect it that way. I'm not saying any of that, but this is a situation where Walker could be used very well, or it could be misused in a way where like scratching your head. Casey's capable of that, but Casey's also capable of a year where Patrick Mahomes is healing. This is the year of not making Patrick Mahomes literally carry this team on his back as he recovers from a torn ACL. So if there ever was a year that this man Walker was going to just go out and have a top 5 or 6 running back season in this situation, in this environment, it's going to be this year because we're waiting on this man to get his feet under him. Now, maybe by midseason or week 10, week 14, Mahomes is kind of running like Mahomes again. Playoff time, he's running like Mahomes again. But during the fantasy season, during a big chunk of it, this will be the man the team leans on. The guy Andy Reid who developed Jamal Charles. The guy Andy Reid who developed prime Kareem Hunt, if you remember back. The guy Andy Reid who's orchestrated running back room after running back room to create a top 5 running back in fantasy football time and time again, did, yes, morph into a guy that started to lean on his pass and have a balanced attack. And people think that the Andy Reid, the running Andy Reid, the mind that created the Jamal Charles type of running back environment is gone. He might not be gone. And this move is such a phenomenal move. I'm not sure that the Chiefs are even done. This is going to be a fun ride, I'll tell you that. Watching this unfold in KC, and what a smart move. What a smart move. I'm very impressed by the Chiefs going after a running back like this and supporting a man that is going through what Mahomes is going through. And I'm also very impressed by the Buffalo Bills going after a wide receiver. These are two teams that did what they need to do to compete in a very, very competitive conference where the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills couldn't sit back and rest and not worry about what these other teams are doing. The Buffalo Bills had a deficiency at wide receiver. The Chiefs had a deficiency at a lot of different places, but running back specifically, and they failed to invest in the new Jamal Charles, and they just continued to do the same thing over and over. And by the way, the implications that this thing has of the Chiefs not being one of the teams and suitors of Jeremiah Love means that Jeremiah Love is not going to be a Kansas City Chief. Cardinals retain James Conner, so the Cardinals might be off the board or out of the sweepstakes for Jeremiah Love. Doesn't mean Jeremiah Love is going to slip in the draft necessarily. It just means he's not going 3 anymore. He's not going 9. And the range was, the high was 3, the low was 9. He was not going earlier than 3, was not going later than 9. And those two bookends of this potential block of picks where this man, Jeremiah Love, is going to go are now off the board. But that doesn't mean he still won't go between 4 and 8. And the Saints, depending on what they do they bring in ETN? Does Washington bring in ETN? Does Tennessee bring in ETN? Do one of these teams that's in this block bring in ETN? And then we have a couple of spots left for Jeremiah Love. And then if those teams decide, and it happens all the time, to go in a different direction on draft day, then all of a sudden the unprecedented, unpredicted slip happens or something goes on. But we'll see. It's going to be very intriguing to see what happens. But Kenneth Walker feeding families from the Kansas City Chief organization, doing it live. And on that note, where's our Kenny Walker video when we need it?
Kenneth Skywalker. Kenneth Lightsaber Swing.
Kenneth Lightsaber Swinging Skywalker. And Coach just ordered some gunners like your boy's wearing right now over at gunner.com. Coach just ordered them and saved $750 using code Smitty. 10% off if you use code Smitty. Thank you for using code Smitty. Thank you for getting a pair of gunners. And
the Gunner Player of the Week, brought to you by gunner.com.
Let's put Kenny Walker up on here, even though we're not playing football right now. The Gunner Player of the Week right now is going to be Kenny Walker. Kenny Walker to the mother freaking moon. To the moon. To the moon. Gunners to the moon.
Gunner Player of the Week.
Gunner.com.
By gunner.com.
Go check them out. Hopefully we've got everything lined up for Gunner being back for 2026 campaign. I still have to talk to them. No standing ovations until that's finalized, but hopefully Gunner is back on the channel this year. I can't live in a world where I'm not promoting Gunner, so hang tight on that one. Walker, this is fantastic. Guys, real quickly, spitballing the Walker potential stats. Let's just say Walker, 1250 rushing, touchdowns on the ground. I'm going to give him 10 TDs on the ground. I know it's a lot. This is going to be weird because the projections I'm about to give him are going to be kind of a rude awakening for me in terms of where I've got him ranked on the rankings and where I'm talking about Walker and how I'm talking about Walker and the advice I'm giving people on Walker in trades. And this is what I warned everyone about. It's a different Walker in KC where we're talking about him in a whole different light. Receptions, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 45 receptions for, let's just call this, 45. Let's give him, let's say 3 350, and this is a low number, and then we'll give him 3 touchdowns on the ground. That's 13 total scores. That's 1250. That's 350. This is like a cellar dweller projection for me. This is safe. This is a safe projection. And I think that he's capable of these numbers being in the 1350, probably not 1400. Maybe, you never know. Could be 1350, maybe 14 even. But let's go 1250 as a good floor. This right here could be as high as 55, 60. But I think this is a safe floor. This right here could be 350 to 450. This could be 2 to 4 touchdowns. So at the end of the day, this feels like the floor. The ceiling would be a couple more scores, maybe 200 total yards, maybe 10 more receptions. And you're talking about a difference of maybe being running back 6 and running back like 8, or running back 5 and running back 8. This is going to be quite a ordeal for the kid and for his fantasy football owners. And for anybody that has Kenny Walker, Ziggy, how old is Kenneth Walker and when is his birthday? Ziggy, volume 10. Ziggy, volume 10. Ziggy, how old is Kenneth Walker and when is his birthday?
Kenneth Walker III is 25 years old. His birthday is October 20th. Would you like to know more about Kenneth Walker's career?
So in October, he turns 26 years old. That's 26. He's playing his 26 age season this year. Playing is 27 and playing is 28. If you ask me, that is 3 years, at least 3 years of him delivering elite production. And even if we called it 2, which I could understand, if we called it 2 years, that's still a long time. So anybody worried about in dynasty, I got to get rid of him. He's going to be 20. This is a monster. This is
You're absolutely right about Walker's longevity window. At 25 turning 26, he's hitting that sweet spot where running backs typically deliver their most productive seasons. The timing is actually perfect for Dynasty Leagues since he just signed a 3-year, $43 million deal with Kansas City after winning Super Bowl MVP with Seattle. That contract takes him through 2028, so you're looking at guaranteed elite production in that Mahomes offense during his prime years.
Are you trying to one-up me, Ziggy? Are you trying to take my job? Is that what we're doing here? You're just interrupting? No one called upon you. No one asked you a question. You just decide to take this into your own hands and try and one-up Smitty? What the hell's his problem? No answer. No answer. You're crawling in my shell. Ziggy, turn off! Ziggy, turn off! You're worthless. You're worthless. What do you want to have, a spelling contest? Is that what? All right, let's get back to the news. Alec Pierce.
I may be worthless at spelling bees.
Ziggy, off! Ziggy, turn off! Ziggy, turn off! Alec Pierce, ladies and gentlemen, is staying with the Indianapolis Colts. Let's minimize all this Kansas City stuff. We'll get back to this. We'll open phone lines. I'm sure we'll be talking Kenny Walker till our I don't know, till we're tickled pink. But we'll go ahead and swing back over to the other side of this board here and talk about the other players that are in the news right now. Alec Pierce is in the news. Why is Alec Pierce in the news? I'll tell you why Alec Pierce is in the news, because I didn't have to change his graphic. His graphic will remain an Indianapolis Colt graphic, and we'll have we also have this news right here that is related to it. Steelers get Michael Pittman Jr. Colts get late round pick swap. So Michael Pittman Jr. has been traded to the mother freaking Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers come off the board as a BTJ or AJB potential throwing the hat in sweepstakes type of option or alternative for AJB and BTJ. So that kind of limits some of the landing spots for those two, and that can affect the market. That can affect a lot of things. Here's the trade here. Michael Pittman Jr. to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a really interesting situation. Very, very interesting. And when we bring up the Alec Pierce contract, where's the Alec Pierce deal? Let me see if I can find that contract. I have it here somewhere. And it's big that Alec Pierce stays. It's very shocking, too, because the way he spoke about that environment was very different than the action of re-signing with the team, because Alec Pierce was not happy. He was not happy with his volume. He was not happy with his numbers. He was not happy with any of it at all. This is the deal right here. 4-year, $114 million deal that will make him the highest paid free agent receiver in NFL history. This is quite a number, ladies and gentlemen. 114 mil. 114 mil divided by 4 is 28.5 million, which also sets a baseline, which also gives us something to work with when we start talking about Mike Evans. We start talking about other players and wide receivers that could potentially get contract extensions here soon. This could set the tone a little bit and set a baseline for George Pickens. Even if George Pickens wants $40 million a year, this could help pull his number down to more like the 35 range. So George Pickens might get a deal done a little bit quicker, sooner, and it possible not leading to a holdout and a demanding of a trade. If, in fact, he allows this to marinate with his camp and his expectation, but this could pull Pickens down to that $34-35 million territory. We'll have to see where Pickens now sees himself. But $114 million, a lot of guarantees are what really matter here. So the deal negotiated by his agent, Mike Swenson, let's see here. By agents, came together overnight and contains a $84 million in guarantee amount of money, $60 million fully guaranteed at signing, and a max package of $116 million. So if we look at the max package at $116, which we don't necessarily calculate on all the time, it depends on the details of that, whether we're using the $114 or the $116. But $116 divided by the 4 is $29 million a year. So $29 million roughly per year for Alec Pierce, which again is shocking because of the way he talked about this situation and how he didn't want to stay in Indy necessarily. He deserved the right to go kind of get wined and dined. He didn't spend much time doing that. I don't know why he didn't. The market would have been very kind to him. But this right here makes it very likely that we're going to see an A.J. Brown, uniting with Vrabel in New England if A.J. Brown is to get moved. And we can't control whether the Eagles lower their asking price on A.J. Brown. We also can't control if the New England Patriots want to surrender the asking price that the Eagles are kind of firm and settled on right now. So none of this is in our control. We said that over and over and over. But if A.J. Brown is to get traded, I do believe it will be today or tomorrow. And it certainly could happen later, but it does feel like this is the time to strike. And once A.J. Brown is off the board in terms of heading somewhere else, or if it gets put to bed, mostly if he heads somewhere else, mostly if he heads to New England, then all of a sudden the BTJ sweepstakes kind of go away because there's no other suitor other than New England that's willing to overpay because they lost because of not having the wide receiver. They're the most vulnerable to giving up too much to overpay. They're the most vulnerable to giving a wide receiver whatever the hell they want. And then the most vulnerable to saying, we don't win unless we add this big name player, and this is the biggest name player in the bit. Like, if there's any big news that's bigger than Kenneth Walker going to the Kansas City Chiefs, it would be A.J. Brown getting traded to the New England Patriots. Those would be the two biggest moves at Max Crosby of the entire offseason. So A.J. Brown, because Alec Pierce, who was a very, very intriguing option and landing spot for the New England Patriots, is now off the board because Pierce is back with the Colts. A.J. Brown to New England feels all but done in my mind. But that's in my mind. That's logic talking. That is logic talking. Now, logic talked when we said KC was going to have ETN or Kenneth Walker last night. I said, close your eyes. Can't you picture either one of them in a Kansas City Chief uniform? One of those two will land in KC, and Kenneth Walker landed in KC. When I close my eyes and picture A.J. Brown, I don't picture him in a Eagles uniform. I don't. And Sirianni doesn't either. Sirianni wants him gone. A.J. Brown, I can see in a New England Patriot uniform. In fact, I have that graphic already created and doctored up. If I could find that, it fits, man. You see it and you just say, this is a New England Patriot. Where is he? Where is he? I got him somewhere. He just feels like a New England Patriot. I'll have to find it later. So more to come on that, but this is a big time signing. Alec Pierce, 4-year, $114 million. Again, it could be 116, which will put it at $29 million on the dot if it's the 116. So stay tuned for that. Alec Pierce, congratulations on your big fat contract. And staying with Danny Dimes, which Alec Pierce in Indy helps JT. It's all a cascading effect and reciprocation. And so this is good news for the most part. We know what he does. We know what he does in Indy. We know what he's capable of doing in Indy, so it's a good landing spot for sure. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you, Coach, for that super chat. Thank you, JW, for your super chat. What does this do for Sharbs? Can I keep him or for one season? Only at a 9th round value. Sharbs is going through that ACL recovery. It does feel like they want him as their future, but we're also one piece of news away, bro, where like ETN, you just don't know. So I don't have an answer for you. I did say that Seattle would be smart to trade for Devon Achane. And while people might say, why would they do that and not just re-sign Kenny Walker? Look, there are a lot of reasons why teams are interested in allowing players to go test the market and then it backfires on them, or they potentially there's a rift between Walker and the organization. I told you guys when the GM was at the podium celebrating and he was kind of belligerent and he leaned over in front of everybody and goes, Kenneth Walker is really weird. He tried to negotiate a new deal with me. And we thought, okay, that was a funny comment, right, by a decision maker, by a very, very high up official in the organization, right, looking over at Kenny Walker. Kenny Walker was not happy. Kenny Walker was not happy with his comment. Kenny Walker looked kind of annoyed, and we just wondered. We didn't know. I mean, it could have been an innocent joke. It was just kind of stupid, a dad joke, whatever. But the way Kenny Walker looked and the way Kenny Walker's talked about his situation, it did feel like he was very, very tempted to go test free agency. And we don't know the inner workings and problems that happened behind closed doors that made Kenny Walker want to venture off. So we can't just assume because the Seattle Seahawks wanted to let him go test the waters that they don't want to replace him with an equivalent or better player. So Achane going to Seattle would not surprise me. ETN going to Seattle would not surprise me. ETN or some other player, some other situation that we're not really thinking of totally right now. Even Dowdle could be something intriguing. Somebody could be in Seattle, but I would say Sharbs is safer today than he was, yesterday. But you also have, a bunch of rookie running backs that could enter the equation. Seattle could get crazy and make a trade, or they bring in Jonah Coleman, or they bring in, or Mike Washington, who we love. So I'd say right now Sharbs has some intriguing dynasty value still, but for 2026 in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, he's going to be recovering from that ACL tear. So it's hard to say. Raiders screw this up and take Crosby replacement 1.1 and then Simpson at 1.14. No, bro, Mendoza is locked in at 1.1. Well, I'll let you know if something gets off track, off the rails, but it is Mendoza, Tom Brady's protege. Like, Tom Brady's going to be sculpting this kid. Steelers get Michael Pittman. Colts get a late round pick swap, so Michael Pittman goes to the Steelers. Again, rapturing another potential landing spot for AJB or BTJ, making a trade less likely for both of them, but definitely less likely for both of them for sure getting traded. One of them could still get traded, but all the suitors are starting to vanish. But that also lowers the price. If no Pittsburgh Steeler involvement is in play, if there's no Indianapolis Colt involvement in play, if Alec Pierce is in play, if he isn't in play, then the Philadelphia Eagles are starting to watch the asking price of A.J. Brown lower. And if they don't recognize that, then, what in the hell are we supposed to do? What are we going to do with this? So that's that. Interesting news. Alec Pierce got that. Malik Willis is a Miami Dolphin, which is great news for our boy Devon Achane, because we need somebody that can check down to him. We need somebody that can scramble around, keep defenses honest. And, while this thing could backfire in 100 different ways, just because Halfley's probably going to be one of the worst head coaches in the league, I don't know what we can expect in terms of play calls. Are they going to have a lot of design plays? And will Willis successfully dump the ball off to Achane? I believe he will do better than we ever could have gotten out of Ewers or any other option that they could have brought into Miami. So this is a good situation. It's the best situation we could have asked for Achane. If you're an Achane owner, you've got to be pumped about this situation. You have to be excited that you have a competent quarterback option. That potentially, yeah, let's see here. Benson, what do we got? Travis, what's up, man?
Allgeier to the Cardinals and the Raiders signed Linderbaum. So
okay.
Big for
huge Linderbaum, baby. That's great. Genty to the moon on that one. Tyler Allgeier to the Cardinals definitely takes away from, I mean, he's the starter. You know, what's the contract details on Allgeier?
Only 2 years and a little over $12 million, so touched over $6 million a year.
Okay, so we got potentially still some movement for. Let me put that graphic up real quick. Yeah, Allgeier. You know, if he landed, we were saying if he lands in a place where he can get a hold of the starting job, or he lands in a cloudy situation where we're pretty sure that the team is not invested fully in the starter because they're bringing Allgeier in, and that's exactly this Arizona Cardinals situation. Plus, you have James Conner coming back. Allgeier is not a bad option, but I will say I don't think that I'm like all on board the Allgeier train in Arizona because there's still two players in this situation. It is still cloudy. You know, like Benson and Conner aren't just going to go away. And I fear that this is going to be, I feel like Allgeier could be overvalued. Now, if he's not overvalued, we'll just have to see where the ADP is. I could see myself at the same time liking the landing spot, but I don't know. My gut tells me them bringing back Conner and their infatuation with Conner as an organization. Now, it's a different staff, so it's hard to really tie that over, but I think that the Conner's just not, they didn't bring him back for nothing. So Allgeier, Conner, and Benson's a very crowded room. I don't know that I like it for Allgeier. But I do like it for the fact that it didn't ruin another running back room, because our biggest fear was he goes to the Bucks, where Kenneth Walker just went, or I'm sorry, Kenny Gainwell, which we'll talk about Kenny Gainwell in a second. But Allgeier was a bigger threat than Kenny Gainwell. So we'll talk about Kenny Gainwell in a second. But yeah, it's
not a bad signing for the Cardinals either, just with the, not knowing what Conner will be like coming back and not knowing what Benson will be either, so
yeah,
it gives them some security.
It definitely,
only 2 years.
It's definitely got a crack in the a big crack and opportunity for Allgeier to bust through and become the starter. Like this is not like a cul-de-sac where he got signed and placed in a horrible situation where there's no ability for him to go grab the starting job. He certainly could take control of the situation and become the starter. So it's good for Allgeier in a sense that there's an opening there, but it's no lock, and it's definitely crowded. Linderbaum is such a big move. Raiders.
That's huge.
The Raiders are, and this is why we laughed at people who are like, the Raiders offensive line last year, Smitty. Like, this is what they're doing. We knew they were doing this. Genty to the motherfreaking moon. Genty's a top 5 running back. One could argue Genty or Jeremiah Love, either one is the number 3 running back in fantasy football after Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan. You don't like it, then this probably isn't the right channel for you. But these two running backs, Jeremiah Love and Genty, are going to flirt with top 5 running back value all year. And Linderbaum is one of the major reasons that we're going to be talking Genty all mother freaking offseason. Both these gentlemen, Love and Genty.
The Jupiter Men. Jupiter is so
Jupiter
large,
Men.
Every planet in the solar system could fit inside it. There are no bigger monsters than the Jupiter Men.
Jupiter Men indeed. So Genty, I think Genty will become very trendy in the next couple weeks, months, whatever, to where you don't hear as much negativity as you have the last handful of weeks and months. People saying the Raiders can't turn it around, or I'll draft Genty once they fix their offensive line. Great, Steve. We'll see at the finish line. have a nice time trying to accumulate Genty shares later when things like this happen. But this is very telegraphed, in my opinion. And the fact that Tom Brady's now making a lot more of the decisions, now that they have a quarterback that's competent, whether he's a rookie or not, whether he's got to read defenses, learn to read defenses or not, he's still going to make quick decisions and release the football properly. And Bowers was hurt all year. Even if we look at, Geno and say how bad Geno was, Geno probably would have been a little bit better. He would have been trash, but he would have been at least a clean trash can. Not one of those messy ones where the trash is piling out and falling all over the place. He would have been at least a solid trash can to a degree at times if they had a healthy Brock Bowers all year. So Brock Bowers being healthy alone is so huge for Genty and the offense. Having Mendoza, quick release, smart kid, competent kid, is going to, maybe not be a top 10 fantasy quarterback his first year. Not saying he will. Not saying he can't, but not saying he will. That mixed with Bowers, mixed with offensive line changes. Smitty, they got a bad offensive line. Relax. You think the guy Kubiak who just took his team to a Super Bowl and won it isn't going to fix the offensive line? What in the hell's wrong with you? So this man right here, this is an awful photo. It looks like he's got no lower body. I'm telling you, he's better than he is in this photo. He's better than this. Linderbaum, what a move. What a move by the Raiders. And Genty to the mother freaking moon. All you Genty haters are going to be eating crow later. It's the same song and dance. And honestly looks exactly like the two gentlemen on this screen, Kenneth Walker and Achan, who we invented on this channel.
Let him cook.
When everybody's saying, "Oh, Genty won't stay," or Achan won't stay healthy. Watch, he's too small. Who is there to tell you different? And the same thing goes with Gibbs and Monty. What about Monty? Over and over. What did we tell you? What happened? Genty, what about the offensive line? What about the quarterback situation? What ended up happening? As Coach says, Kubiak dropping a Linder. Yeah, he did. He dropped a Linder. All right. So real quickly, Travis, just mute real quick and I'll be right back with you. If you got anything important, just interrupt. It's fine. If anything breaks while we're doing it live here. All right. There's not much more to go over anyway. And then we'll just talk to Travis and open the phone line. So Allgeier is a Cardinal. Linder is a Raider. This piece of news is going to freak out a lot of people, which is fine by me because I love the Bucky. He's already a discount right now. Bucky's, freaking people out left and right anyway. And now all of a sudden Bucky's got Kenny Gainwell in town. And the one thing I'll remind people is that Zach Robinson has already said that Bucky reminds him of his Bijan Robinson, mold, and he's going to sculpt him into that kind of player, give him that kind of workload. Now, I will say this. If I'm being completely blunt and honest, Kenny Gainwell's a pretty good running back. But I don't think he's any different than Bucky. They're very similar in how they play. They're very similar in how, what you're going to get out of them.
Smitty.
Yeah.
ETN to the Saints.
Oh, we got to go. We got to end this and come back and go live, I think. Oh, damn. All right, we're live right now. We'll do this. Oh, my God. ETN to the Saints. Woo! Let's talk about it real quickly, and then we might have to end this and go live again on a whole separate graphic. But ETN is a New Orleans Saint, and that just like we just said, if this happens, then it rips another Jeremiah Love suitor off the board inside that top 9. But I don't know that it necessarily changes anything. He still could go into the top 9. But Travis Etienne becomes a New Orleans Saint live while we're live. This is fantastic. Jeremiah Love is probably, real quickly before we go on to the ETN front, Jeremiah Love not going to the Cardinals. Could be a Tennessee Titan. Could be a Giant the way they're talking, which would be a disaster. It's the only disastrous situation. Cleveland, I don't think, is going near it. Washington, I hope they take him. New Orleans is off the board. KC's off the board. Wow. I mean, now it's like it's Tennessee and Washington, and then what? I mean, this is crazy. The Vikings at 18 might move up to try and lock them down. this is wild because the top running back spots available for Jeremiah Love gone. New Orleans, ETN, KC, Walker, Washington, Vikings, and then Seattle, who now becomes one of. So we're going to take the Saints off the board here. They're now no longer. Let's see, Saints or ETN. Let's put that right there. This is crazy, bro. This is absolute madness. Okay, KC is Kenny Walker. Let's move that over here. So now the best running back landing spots, in my opinion, would be Washington, Minnesota, and Seattle could be argued number one, if not for their ability to share the.
Nope.
Let's go Tennessee.
Wandell to the Titans, just to add on.
Jeez, man, today is just crazy. Are they going to leave anything for tomorrow? This is like this is wild. All right, hold on. Let me pull that up and put that on screen here. Wandell to the Titans. A lot of movement today. This is fantastic. So ETN goes to the Saints. Wandell goes to the Titans. I'm going to have to end the live stream and come back in just a few minutes, so hang tight, guys. Wandell Robinson. Wandell. What do you think? What do you think about that deal, Wandell?
Wandell to the. I mean,
we knew.
Part of me wanted to see them just use DK in that role, but I mean Wandell's a good receiver, so it's good for Ward. Anything good for Ward, I'm happy with. I think for that situation. Yeah, it's definitely a likely landing spot. We've been hearing about it for a couple days now. So Wandell goes to the Titans. Which kind of is a little bit upsetting to me in one respect, because I think Jordan Tyson that's probably one of my favorite landing spots. And it really wasn't initially. I think we even talked about it once, and you're like, what about Wandell, or what about Jordan Tyson to the Titans? And my initial reaction was, but then as you start breaking down all the landing spots and trying to figure out what makes sense. But what this tells me is Titans might be in play for Jeremiah Love. You know, if they bring in Wandell and that wide receiver room is covered in a way, they might still take Jordan Tyson. You never know. But this could be Jeremiah Love's draft selection. But I do wonder, with AZ and New Orleans and KC now off the board for Jeremiah Love, do teams feel the same pressure to draft him, and does he slip somehow? That's crazy. But real quickly, I'll go over the Bucky situation 1 second, then we'll come back on the ETN situation on a whole new live stream. But Travis Etienne has signed with the New Orleans Saints. This is a fantastic landing spot. I love Tyler Shuck. I admit that I didn't when he walked into the league. He definitely proved me wrong, and I love him. I think he looks fantastic. He's exciting. He runs. He keeps defenses honest. Olave stayed healthy all year. Olave looks fantastic. This is an exciting offense, and Etienne's a perfect fit for it. He catches the football. We said last night, Saints likely to get one of the two, Etienne, Walker. We said most certainly KC's going to get one of the two, and they both look wonderful in a Kansas City Chief uniform, and they both look wonderful in their new uniforms. Etienne in a Saints uniform is fantastic to envision, but these are two very good landing spots, and it does leave to question where Jeremiah Love's going to land in the NFL draft. This kid is probably going to produce a top 6 to 10 running back season in New Orleans. New Orleans is definitely perfect for him. One might say, but Alvin Kamara reworked his deal. What's that mean? Is he going to be in the way? There's certainly risk for that for the first year in New Orleans for Etienne. I think that I would say there's more of a risk that he gets screwed out of some production than Walker does. But I do believe you don't bring Etienne. Is the contract detail dropped yet on the Etienne deal, Travis? I haven't seen it. Wandell got 4 for 78.
Okay.
Is what I'm seeing. I saw 4 for 70 as well, but now Rappaport says 4 for 78.
Okay. So Etienne, we'll find out what his contract details are. We got another super chat that came rolling in here. This is from Husseini. Husseini's got to be excited about his situation. We also have Jonathan. Jonathan said Dynasty is Trey Benson cooked. Yeah, bro, he got 2 other running backs on the roster. They don't bring in Allgeier if they're excited about Trey Benson. Thank you for the super chat, Jonathan. Appreciate you. Husseini with the super chat. Appreciate my boy Husseini dropping it like it's hot.
Let him cook.
And then real quickly, let me just, Kruger, not now. Let me just see if I can, let me pull up Rumble just to make sure my Rumble chat isn't going crazy and needing my assistance. Aldi in the building, Bullfrog, FDX, Mikey, D Money. Appreciate you guys being over on the Rumble side of the fence. Wait, hold on a second. I do have a Rumble chat, a Rumble rant from Turbo. Turbo, you there? I'm sorry about the wait on that. Turbo, let me screenshot your super chat. 420 man in the building over on Rumble. Appreciate you, 420 man. Appreciate you, Bullfrog. Appreciate you, Aldi, FDX, Turbo. You guys rock. You guys to the moon. Let me throw this $20 hauler on screen by Husseini, and then we'll do the Turbo who dropped the $2 hauler on Rumble. Let me give you standing ovations as well. Giving standing ovations out for all super chats this offseason if I can remember it. Husseini, appreciate you. He says, welcome to the Kansas City Chiefs, Kenny Walker. My Jeremiah Love fantasies have come to an end. It was fun while it lasted. Husseini, let me do you a solid too. For all that you've done, anybody that drops a $100 hauler at any moment can grab a video of their choice on the channel in terms of sponsoring it and having your name show up every time it's played. I'm going to put you, Husseini, for all the super chats and awesome drops that you've dropped all season long. I'm going to put you on the Kenneth Walker right now. And here it is.
Kenneth Skywalker. Kenneth lightsaber swinging Skywalker.
Such an advanced animation and video for its time. It was the very first. I think it was the very first one on the channel. That's how long he's been in the league, which is crazy that we're celebrating his long-term dynasty value when he was the creator of the Moon Man, Mars Man, Saturn Man. So if anybody says, Smitty, you don't believe in Kenneth Walker, like, I laugh in your face because he created the Moon Man, the Mars Man, the Saturn Man. He was the first Moon Man. Yeah.
So ETN 4 for 52, so 13 million.
Oh, that's not. I feel like he should. Yeah, I guess I feel like he's gonna get like 14, 15. Not that it's that far off, but okay, that's interesting. So ETN signs now. Real quickly before we end this live stream, Sharp be number one for Seattle, or will they bring in a rookie? They're certainly going to bring in somebody. Now it could be Dowdle, it could be a big name player. Could have happened already. We'll find out in a second. But they're certainly not leaving the running back room in the hands of an ACL torn recovering player. So who will be there? Will they be good enough when Sharps is ready to be full go and then he can just take the job back, or they fall off? Like Dowdle's older, so Dowdle would make sense. If they draft a Jonah Coleman or a Mike Washington, yeah, it's going to be a problematic situation. Now, this is a sharing environment under Kubiak. What's it like without Kubiak there? I don't know. We'll have to see. So right now, I would say Sharps is in pretty good positioning, but it's not a guarantee by any means, my boy. By any means. Thank you, Husseini, again for the super chat. Coach, thank you. Coach says might pick up Fannin sponsorship. I smell meatloaf. We would love to see it. And if you do end up dropping a $100 hauler for a Fannin sponsorship, and because I don't have a Fannin video up yet, I'll put a blank one up, placeholder. If anybody requests an animation via a $100 hauler, I will put a placeholder page up until I create the video. So that's the way that will work. So if you do that, we'll just have to hit a blank Coach page until I create it, but I'll do it for you. Coach, thank you very much. Racing Boy with a $20 hauler in the building, my boy.
Mashed potatoes!
Alert. Super chat alert.
No, you don't have to do something I have. You can grab one like that if you want, but just tell me the player and I'll show you the animation. 4 years, $52 million for ETN, says Racing Boy. So Travis and Racing Boy dropping the numbers. I appreciate that. Man, I just a lot going on. And real quickly before we do end up, and anybody has any other super chats, I'll answer them before we get out of here. But I'm going to start a new live stream on ETN in a second. I hate to do it because we got 409 people in the building, but I want a compartmentalized video on the ETN situation. But to break down this Kenny Gainwell situation, look, there's a risk. There's a risk that Bucky and Kenny Gainwell play very similar. But that also gives you some solace that if Zach Robinson's telling you that Bucky is his Bijan and Kenny Gainwell plays like Bucky, I don't know that they're like nudging each other out of, one's going to nudge the other one out. Now, because they are so similar in their style, could they just do a full-blown running back by committee? It's possible. And so that risk has to be in play in your mind when you're drafting. But you also are going to get a significant discount on Bucky now, because I don't think there's a person in their right mind that's going to walk into the situation and not say, well, I wonder if I should pay yesterday's price. They're probably going to be like, what kind of discount am I going to get? This is like going to the clothing store and there's a little tiny hole at the bottom, or a shredded like piece of the jacket at the bottom. And you go up to the counter and you're like, what kind of discount am I getting on this jacket? So if you buy into Bucky Irving, it will be in wonderment. You'll walk up to the register. You'll say, well, what kind of discount am I going to get? This comes with Kenny Gainwell. And if the price is right, it'll be worth the investment because his upside is top 6 to 10 running back material, especially in an offense led by Zach Robinson, who just turned Bijan into a 700-yard receiver and 1,400 yards on the ground and double-digit touchdowns and 9 receptions. That is what I'm not saying we're getting that replication out of Bucky. I'm not saying he's going to automatically mirror Bijan Robinson, but we're talking about a glorious potential situation. And if Bucky, who is going in round 3, now falls to round 4 because Kenny Gainwell's in town, well, guess what? I prefer Bucky with Kenny Gainwell than not with Kenny Gainwell. If Bucky goes in the 4th round with Gainwell, I wouldn't undo this signing if you paid me, because I'd rather take a risk that Kenny Gainwell dampens the mood a little bit and get Bucky in the 4th round. So it all comes down to that. But is there a risk of taking Bucky exactly where you were taking him with Kenny in town? Yeah, there's a little bit more risk to it. Is it still worth it? Yeah, at a couple leagues, but you do want to take into consideration, and to cuff the two together probably guarantees you amazing production. This is probably one of the best cuffs in fantasy football. The cuff board will have them ranked very high. Travis, what do you think about Kenny Gainwell and Bucky?
I think it hurts Bucky's PPR value a little bit. Overall PPR work a little bit, but I think he's still the main back, and Rachaad White and Tucker are gone, so his value might drop a little bit, but I don't know that it's going to kill his output, his stats.
Well, do you agree with the statement? Do you agree with the statement? And just tell me what tell me what you think if you disagree. Do you agree with the statement that you'd rather have Kenny Gainwell in town and get Bucky in the 4th, or have Kenny Gainwell not in town, risk the NFL draft bringing somebody in anyway, and having to pay 3rd round Bucky?
No, I think I'd rather have the 4th, because you know what you're getting with Gainwell, and Gainwell's not going to eclipse him as a starter.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. What else we got?
The Saints just signed a guard from the Bills, pretty good guard, so that's good for the Saints as well.
ETN to the moon. 42-month membership from who's that? That's Melvin. Melvin's is likely to the Giants. Oh, we haven't discussed that yet. We still got that here. So let me see if I can pull up everything. I've got everything pretty much. Let me see if I can find that graphic, and then we'll.
Dotson went to the Falcons. Just a small note.
Who?
Jahan Dotson.
Oh, Dotson, yeah. Who? Who are you talking about? Who the hell's that?
Once upon a time.
Who the hell is that? We liked Juwan Dotson at one point. Isaiah Likely signs a 3-year, $40 million deal with the Giants. We heard about this a couple days ago that the Giants were potential suitors. It surprises me that these teams even let any of this out. You know, when you hear like the Giants might want it, Likely, you're like, this got to be smoke, right? Because why would you let anyone know what you were doing? But I know that sometimes their phone calls, visits will trigger interest, but you know, it is wild to me how widely open some of this stuff is. But Likely 3-year, $40 million deal. Let me tell you something. This is starter money. Like, he's going to be fine. You know, this is going to be a Fed asset.
Jalen Naylor to the Raiders.
Okay, I like Naylor. Naylor's a pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hag.
3
Appreciate
years,
you.
$35 million.
That's a pretty interesting situation there. Naylor. There was talk about them either trading him or maybe there was buzz that Addison could get traded. But they're clearly trying to figure out a way to. What was the deal worth? Do we know what it was? I'm sure it was just a.
3 years, $35 million, 23 guaranteed.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, yeah. Naylor. I like Naylor. Naylor's pretty intriguing. Kind of a sleeper.
Yeah, good. It is.
I think it's a pretty intriguing situation. I like him. That's a lot of. What's the money terms again on that?
It was 3 for 35 with 23 guaranteed.
Yeah,
so
that's a good sign.
Under $12 million a year.
But that's a good indication they believe in him. And believe me, I've always liked Naylor. We talk about Naylor all the time. I would have traded Addison and re-signed Naylor, to be honest with you, because I think Naylor's that good. Now, Addison's always in trouble, you know. So I would have retained Naylor. Naylor's a really good player. I think this is really intriguing. Really intriguing. MT, stop, bro. Stop with your nonsense, man. Mod put you in timeout. You keep talking about Love going to the Raiders, and you're like consistently. Okay, we'll be back. Let's see here. Do we have any other super chats to handle? Any other news? We'll be back on a compartmentalized ETN video here in 1 second. So everybody, please come back. Everybody, don't venture too far. I will be live again on a Travis ETN video in 1 second.
I think you had one membership chat. That was it.
Member.
Melvin.
Yeah, I read that. Likely to the Giants.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you in a minute. Call back in a few minutes there, Travis, or later. All right, guys, I'll see you all here in a few minutes. ETN, I'll be creating its own compartmentalized video right now because it needs its own headline, needs its own video, needs its own love and attention. So appreciate you all. See you here. Don't venture far. Just come right back. I'm live whenever big news breaks. I'm live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm also live at midnight. Don't forget the time zone change, but we still are live at 8 p.m. The 8 p.m. time doesn't change. The midnight time doesn't change Eastern, but it might change for you. So we'll be live at midnight. Well, tonight we'll be live at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, but we'll be live in a few minutes on ETN.